here from Nutritional. We are doing a new little feature on our social media every Friday from now on. Not 100% sure on times yet, so it'll probably be around 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. on a Friday. I'm going to put up some polls on our stories just to see what times kind of are more popular. And basically every week we're going to pick a different topic. We're going to do a little bit of a Q&A on it, 15 minutes to 30 minute talk every week. Some weeks there'll be different people on, so different staff members. We're going to get some of the reps from some of our supplement companies to come on and have a chat as well. And we're basically just going to talk all health related issues, and I'm going to put up question box on our stories every week, just if there's a topic that is of particular interest, something like maybe sleep or stress management, and just going to do a little bit of a talk on that. You can obviously ask questions in directly here in real time as well, and I'll try my best to answer them, and if I can't, I can go away, have a little bit of a look and a think, and then we'll do it again the following Friday. So yeah, there'll be different topics every week. I'm going to put a question box up maybe a few days in advance of Friday every week, just so you can directly ask questions in there, and hopefully I'll be able to get to them every Friday then. So this week I'm just doing a talk on celiac disease for about 15 minutes, I would say, and gluten intolerance as well. I am celiac myself, so I know exactly what it's like and how to deal with it. So if there is anybody who is either watching this now or watching later on, I'll be sharing it as a reel. You can put questions below the video and I'll try to get back to those as well. So I suppose just to begin, I have been diagnosed as celiac for just over 10 years now. So I was diagnosed back when I was 21. And there wasn't a whole lot of guidance on how to manage celiac disease once you're diagnosed. It was pretty much, I was told that I was celiac and told to remove gluten from my diet. And even back then I didn't have a full grasp on exactly what that was. So there was a little period of time where I wasn't really sure what I was doing and what I was eating. And that's one of the main questions that people have when they're newly diagnosed. It's, what do I eat now? And it's important the most important thing I would say to somebody who's just been diagnosed as celiac is that you have to fully remove gluten from your diet. And I know it sounds very simple and self-explanatory, but it's actually quite hard if you've lived your whole life eating a certain way to be told that literally the following day or that day you have to stop eating certain foods. It's very, very hard, but it's really, really important, because what celiac disease is, it's not a food intolerance, it's actually an autoimmune condition. So when you ingest gluten, your body sees that as a foreign substance and not just as an innocuous piece of bread. It actually sees that as a foreign invader, and that your body begins to attack its own tissues. So someone with celiac disease has a slice of bread or a crumb of bread, it doesn't matter the amount, and that goes in, and your body sees a red flag basically and starts to attack and break down the tissues in your small intestine. And why that is so important is because there are these little finger-like projections in your small intestine called microvilli, and that's where you absorb all of your nutrients from. So when your food starts to get broken down, it absorbs through those villi, and then it goes into your bloodstream and it produces energy, and that's how you absorb your food and your nutrients from your food. But what happens when someone has celiac disease and they eat gluten, their villi flatten, so it becomes impossible for them to absorb nutrients properly. So when you are diagnosed with celiac disease, how you manage it going forward depends a lot on your symptoms and also how long you have been celiac for. And that some people don't get symptoms, some people are non-symptomatic, but other people could have had symptoms for maybe a year or so, which was in my case. So I had really bad digestive symptoms for a year before I was diagnosed. My celiac was triggered by a stress response that happened in my body. So for about a year before I was diagnosed, I was celiac. So that was a year's worth of eating food that I wasn't actually fully absorbing. So you're starting out from a place of nutrient depletion. So in your management of celiac disease, it's really important to replenish those lost nutrients. And like I was saying, the first thing that people tend to ask when they are newly diagnosed is, what do I eat? And the tendency is to go for the gluten-free alternatives and go straight to the supermarket and go down to the free from aisle and get your gluten-free breads and your gluten-free pastas. But those foods and ingredients are lacking a lot of nutrients. They're not very nutrient dense, and they tend to be very full of binders and extra ingredients, because if you're celiac or gluten intolerant, you will know that celiac foods do not stay together very well, especially breads. They fall apart, so they need all these extra ingredients to actually keep them together. So if you are just replacing the foods in your diet with gluten-free alternatives, you're not really going to get the nutrients that you need. So my second tip, other than completely removing gluten from your diet, and you can't have it on the weekends, and you can't have a crumb, and you can't have a little bit, or it can't be in a sauce, my second tip would be to eat real whole foods instead of gluten-free alternatives. So when you're going to the supermarket, don't go straight to the free from aisle. Go and see what you can have as your new carb source that is naturally gluten-free. Like potatoes are gluten-free, rice is gluten-free, sweet potato, quinoa is gluten-free. There's loads of different kind of grains that you can have that are naturally gluten-free, and obviously they're not ultra processed, so they're full of nutrients that you need to replenish. Another tip to do when you're diagnosed with celiac is to get your blood tests, your bloods done. So you can get that done with your GP, or you can do it, there's lots of different websites that you can do it now online. Randox is a good one, and you can just see kind of where you're at, like your B12, folate, iron is a massive one as well, and that can be depleted, vitamin D levels. Just see where you're at on that scale. Another test that would be very beneficial to get done would be an omega-3 test. Wild Atlantic do a very good one. So omega-3s would be very important for inflammation in the body, and that would be extremely important moving forward as a celiac, to try and reduce a little bit of that inflammation in the gut. So getting a diet that's more rich in colour, nutrient dense, naturally gluten-free, full of antioxidants, and maybe like a Mediterranean style diet. The next tip I would say, with all that in mind, it's very hard if food has never been a big concern for you or at the forefront of your mind, or you've never really had to think about what you're putting into your body, that you've just eaten and that's been it. But when you're diagnosed with something like this, it really has to be your main focus for a little while, especially if you've been celiac for a while without knowing. When there's a lot of inflammation there, you need to do a lot of healing work. And if you don't really know what you're doing, it's hard to do that. So I would recommend to come in to somewhere like Only Natural, have a chat with someone who works on the shop floor, or better again, try and, if you can, sit down with a nutritionist, nutritional therapist, dietitian, whoever that has a knowledge and a really good grasp on nutrients and celiac disease or gut health, and sit down with them and get a plan together, because everybody is so different. I would require different nutrients maybe than you, or different supplements, or I like different foods than you. So it's about trying to move forward and enjoy the foods that you're eating still. So definitely, if you can, and if it's a possibility for you, sit down with a nutritionist, or like I said, come into a health food shop and ask, because generally the people that work in health food shops have a very good grasp and knowledge. And there's always generally in health shops, there's a really good selection of gluten-free alternatives to try. And obviously supplements are important going forward, because even though when I first was diagnosed, I didn't really have any idea of nutrition, I just removed gluten, and I did improve to a certain degree, but I didn't fully recover. I was still having some digestive discomfort. So then when I started working here in Only Natural, that's when I kind of started the journey of supplementation and actual specific gut healing protocols, and that completely changed things for me. So it's about getting specific supplements to suit you. There's a lot of different ones that can help. I know people generally want to get that one thing that's going to solve everything, but generally that's not how it goes. A lot of the time, people with celiac have a lower diversity in gut microbiome and their gut bacteria. So a probiotic is generally a good idea. Digestive enzymes to help break down foods. Aloe vera maybe to reduce inflammation in the gut, and aloe vera also helps improve nutrient absorption. Maybe just an overall multivitamin for the first few months. Things like slippery elm, herbs that are really going to coat the lining of the gut and again reduce that inflammation and just soothe the gut. So there's loads of different things that you can do other than just removing the gluten from your diet, because you might not feel the full benefit from just doing that, and you could end up being a little bit more depleted initially because you're just removing something and you're not actually adding anything extra in. There's a few other tips that I would give on a more practical level at home to do with cross-contamination. So cross-contamination can give you the same symptoms as if you were to sit down and eat a full loaf of bread. So I would recommend getting different appliances, so different toaster to your partner or the rest of the family, having things, your own bread in like Tupperware containers, making sure that people don't double dip in like jams or peanut butter or butters. Things like that can happen very, very easily at home. Also checking ingredients of everything for the first while. Anything that has an ingredients list on it, you should double check the ingredients on the back of it. Things that you wouldn't really think of, like stock cubes, can have barley in them. Some sweets, some jellies can have wheat in them. Some chewing gums can also have barley or traces in them as well. And oats as well are actually, whilst they're naturally gluten-free, there is a high chance of cross-contamination. So for oats, you should always get a naturally gluten-free oat as well. And then I suppose when you're eating out in restaurants, it's really important to stress how serious that it is, how serious the celiac is. And sometimes I would say in a restaurant that I can't have gluten, I'm intolerant to gluten, even though that's not really the exact explanation of what celiac is. But it's just easier for someone who doesn't understand celiac disease to understand that and then pass it on to the kitchen, because obviously it's easy to get cross-contaminated at home. It's definitely easy to get cross-contaminated when you're sitting out in a restaurant. So they're kind of some of my little top tips, but basically the number one thing is, if you have been diagnosed with celiac, to remove gluten from your diet straight away, and then try to eat naturally gluten-free foods rather than just going straight for the gluten-free options. Getting your blood tests done, coming into somewhere like Only Natural to ask for a little bit of advice about what to do, what to eat, what to take, or if you can, and if it's possible for you, to sit down and have a one-to-one with a nutritional therapist who knows a bit about it, and just get a more individualized plan for yourself, to make things a little bit easier and a little bit speedier in your recovery. So they're all my little tidbits on celiac and gluten-free. I'm going to reshare this reel later on, and if anybody has any questions, just put them on the comments or DM Only Natural or DM me on She Talks Health, and I'll get back to you, and we will do the same again next Friday, and we'll have a different topic. So I'm going to put up a question box on our stories if there's any topics that you would like myself or one of the girls in here or Jar to cover. Thanks, see yous.